Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Victor again with my Ioniq 5. So, I was on the forums the other day and I came across a thread where several UK owners mentioned that they had just damaged or punctured the recycled tyvek trim on their door panels. So that's this section right here with a kind of marble effect with pixels going down. It's actually a pretty large piece. It stretches almost the entire length of the door and it's on all four doors. Let's start it off with what is tyvek. Tyvek is a material typically used in construction. Here's an example of it being used, and at least in the United States, with most newer homes, we build using wood framing and wood sheathing. The wood sheathing is typically OSB, also known as oriented strand board, which essentially is just a bunch of small pieces glued together to form these giant boards. So if these boards are exposed to moisture for long periods, they lose their integrity. They basically fall apart because the glue cannot handle the moisture. And what happens is the builders wrap our homes with tyvek to help protect the OSB, and then they put siding over it on the outside to give it even more protection. So now that you know the general idea of what tyvek is, you can understand it's essentially like a piece of paper that we're using to cover some kind of foam material which makes up our armrests. So now that you know what tyvek is, you can understand it's essentially like having a thick piece of paper covering our armrests, which are just made of some kind of foam material. I'm not sure if the recycling process changes tyvek, but I would imagine it's still pretty similar, probably still very paper-like. So that means if we're not careful, we can easily puncture this section of the door panel. Again, it's just paper covering foam. The kind of tricky part here is that it sounds and feels like a solid piece of plastic. When I first touched it, I actually thought, oh, this feels pretty solid. This should be a pretty durable material, so I thought it was a good choice. But after really thinking about it and remembering what tyvek is made of, you really understand it's just paper covering foam, and that means it's susceptible to punctures. Meaning, if it were plastic, I could, jab it with something sharp, even try to key it. I would leave a mark, but I wouldn't puncture it. But in this case, if you use paper to cover foam, if you take something sharp, you're going to puncture it for sure. So, personally on my end, no issues yet, but at least now I know I need to be careful. So if I ever load up the car to the brim, need to move something that has sharp edges, I'm going to be super careful around these sections of the door panels. So I just wanted to share that with all of you guys, as personally, I thought it was a really interesting thing that came up, as I didn't think of it as a weak point for the car, but clearly it is a vulnerable point. So just something to be aware of. The UK owners so far have not had any luck with the dealerships being willing to replace under warranty. They're calling it user error, whereas in reality it might be a design flaw. So we'll have to wait and see if Hyundai decides to actually take care of this issue if it happens this early on. But anyways, for now, we'll just have to be extra careful. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.